So you really push the human into not processing data, but checking the AI and training the AI. So that their whole job purpose is also changing. It's not about processing orders anymore, it's about training an AI.
Antoine, thank you so much for your time today. The CEO of Klassif.ai. We met each other as when we were both Belgians in Toronto, as it was called. We also shared a Solvay business school in our past, although we were there at different times. But we met a couple of years ago, and it's good to see you again, even though you're back in Belgium today. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for the invitation. It's always nice to reconnect with the Toronto crowd. I do miss it. I don't miss the weather today, but I do miss the crowd. So great to be here.
Yeah, no, I've heard from my family that over the weekend you had some 25 degrees or something like that. We don't have that just yet, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Spring, I'm sure, is coming. Now, awesome. Yeah, you've taken over almost 2 years ago as a CEO of Klassif.ai, which I obviously am going to let you introduce what Klassif.ai really does. But we've all seen these things where we go online somewhere, we have to drop in a form, and that form, to the best of its knowledge, will sniff out what we've put in there, pumps it back at us, and then we spend an hour correcting that data when it's not right. And what some people don't know, but in the real world, when it's not just you sending a personal form to a computer somewhere, when you've got massive organizations that do massive order intake, and that happens in very different formats and what have you, at the end of that, in today's world, often there's still a poor person that is manually copy pasting information as good as they can read it from PDFs. This is where Klassif.ai comes in and is changing the game. For people that have never seen Klassif.ai in action, what do they know? What should they know? Sorry.
Yeah, you introduced it really well. So we're in a world with a lot of AI talk and a lot of new tech and a lot of hype, but we do sometimes forget that there are still a lot of people, and their day-to-day job is really opening their mailbox, and they'll have in the morning 50, 100 emails, and these are all different orders coming from other companies. And typically this is just an email, hey, in the attachment you have an order, and then you have a PDF. That PDF could be between 1 and 50 pages. And then their responsibility is to get the data, the unstructured data, out of that PDF and type it over or copy paste it in an ERP system that will manage the order. And so it's really that manual data entry that was really difficult to automate in the past. Mm-hmm. So of course you have optical character recognition. So you have that is a technology that has been around for like 30 years that makes these PDFs readable, but it doesn't give a context to the data in that PDF. And so Klassif.ai uses AI to really do an interpretation of the PDF, to get the data out, to structure the data, and to make that whole process much faster, allowing these teams to focus more on the relationship with the client instead of just getting data out of PDFs. We are an AI company, so we use not Gen AI like we hear everywhere, but really NLP models, so natural language processing models. And these allow us to give context to the data. I'll just give you one example. Some of these PDFs contain 10 dates. So you have the date of today, the date when the payment is due, the delivery date. And yeah, for a human, it's easy to understand which date means what, and hence also the current way of working, having humans giving an interpretation and a context to these dates. Well, for technology, it's much harder. But today we use natural language processing models and AI to give context to all of these dates. And so we do that pretty well. And so even if there are 10 dates with a 99% percentage of accuracy, we can say, okay, this is the delivery date, this is the payment date, etc., etc. And this is only for dates, right? You have also addresses, you have materials, you have so much data in these documents. Well, our models are really trained in giving context to this data.
And when you say a lot of times that information has to go into some sort of ERP system or what have you. Do Are you guys at all involved with where the data then goes and how easy that is? Are there already, although this is all still very new technology and what have you, but do you see that there are also players out there that are just set up more to work with or integrate with a solution like Klassif.ai to better receive that newfound with context data?
Yeah, definitely. So, and we are also focusing on these, let's say, more innovative players.
Right.
We have integrations with the big names like SAP, Microsoft. And what we saw, these big ERP packages, or these are huge companies, right? But they saw the strength, or they see the strength of creating ecosystems and having really these marketplaces or these plugins
Yeah.
available for their clients to make their products also better. Because of course, when we integrate with an SAP, Klassif.ai delivers some value, and of course they piggyback also on the value that we create, and likewise we piggyback on the value that they create, of course. But so yeah, these integrations are available, these marketplaces are available, and they see us as partners,
Yeah.
especially in the era of AI. You have, of course, all the generic AI models, or you have a lot of generic functionalities. But when you move up the ladder and towards more the enterprise market, like big companies, they have harsher requirements. They won't provide their data to just train generic AI models. They need some kind of checks and balances, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
And a small company like Klassif.ai is able to provide for each one of those specific AI configurations. We have specific AI models that we train with their data. It's all segregated, etc. And this is something a Microsoft and an SAP doesn't want to do. They want to put out software products out there where it's cookie cutter.
Right.
Everyone is using the same product. They're not going to go for the extra mile customization, and they delegate that to companies like us. So it's really a win-win relationship for us, for these biggest partners, but also for our clients, of course.
Yeah. And also to just kind of turn the tables around here for a second, and let me play devil's advocate, as we would say, because you cannot mention the acronym AI in any conversation today without somewhere a pitchfork being raised and a torch being lit. Like, people will be concerned with any use case of AI, and especially more on the Gen AI side of things, for sure. But if you look at those automations and context given, obviously you're preaching to the choir here. But if I put myself in a place of someone that says like, well, hey, why is this not going to take away my, whether it's a tedious task that I have to do, or at the very least put the expectation on me as a as a stock manager, or if I'm part of the finance team or processing orders, I'm going to get the expectation that where I used to process 100 invoices in a day to do 100 invoices in 5 minutes. Why am I wrong to be worried that this is going to be a challenge for me as a person working at an organization?
Yeah, it's definitely a good question, huh? And it's also what we say to our clients. It's less about the technology; it's about change management, about rethinking these back office teams. There are several things that play here. The first one of it is that most of our clients that come towards us, their biggest problem is that they are not able to fill in these positions. Mm-hmm. So they have back office teams with like data entry jobs, and they are not able to find people doing these jobs. These are typically jobs also with quite a high turnaround, or churn. So it's turnover. So that's the first problem that we solve.
Right.
So there are 2-3 open job positions. We help them out, and with the existing team, we're able to already get most of the work done. That's for one. And then for the team the users of Klassif.ai, of course, yeah, we see that the number of orders that they are able to process a day goes exponentially up. So
Yeah.
instead of, like you say, it depends the context, of course, but maybe someone did like 20, 30 orders a day, and now they do 200 orders. But within these 200 orders, there are probably already 100 or 150 orders that we were able to process and get like 99% of the data out of it. So it's really easy for them to just validate, because often in these critical business processes, you cannot leave the AI completely by itself. You still
Of course.
need that human in the loop, and the AI, based on the confidence scores, are going to say, hey, watch out, we're not 100% sure about this, we're not 100% sure about that. So you really push the human into not processing data, but checking the AI and training the AI. So that their whole job purpose is also changing. It's not about processing orders anymore, it's about training an AI. And that sounds already much cooler and funner to do, because you're getting better and better. And I'm a strong believer that everyone wants to progress in life and getting better at their job and seeing changes and evolving month over month, year over year. And so that's something we see with our product. So they process more orders, but their whole job description or what they do also changes, and they become like these AI trainers. And they love it when there is a retraining of the model, and then we get these emails. Wow, today I saw this big order coming in, and it was for 99% correct. That's amazing. And we say, yeah, thank you. It's because you provided the necessary input in the past weeks and months to train the AI and make it better. So yeah, it's an important question. What about the existing teams? What about the jobs, etc.? And I think the last point I want to add to that is people like to talk to people. Humans like to interact with humans. You don't interact, if you interact day in, day out just with SAP or Microsoft, it's not a human, it's a software. You're entering data in a software. But by taking away part of these tasks, they are able to reconnect with the actual clients sending these orders. Maybe they say, okay, you order, I don't know, a crane or a compressor, but know that we are also selling an insurance in case there is a problem or whatever. And so we're really also thinking this back office or like in the name, back office team, I think it's going to disappear. It's going to become also again a front office. They're again going to engage with the clients, and everyone in your organization will become some kind of salesperson or representative of your organization, and they like that. They like the human interactions.
So Antoine, you have a unique experience, given that you've been in this business on both sides of the Atlantic, maybe not specifically with Klassif.ai, but in the world of technology. And I know that you've always been extremely passionate about technology. So with the explosion of these tools, where sometimes that's the danger, where you start to work with a new technology and you have even no clue where the people behind this data, or the data centers and all the data resides, behind the scenes, is which part of the world. It feels like this explosion of Gen AI, specifically in the last 24 months, has made this world even more global. But I want to ask you, is that really true? Like, how are you seeing, if at all, a cultural difference between the engagement, let's call it, with AI in North America versus Western Europe, which I know again will be different from Eastern Europe, Southern Europe, and maybe even the Nordics, right? So in your personal experience, like, how do you see that?
Yeah, it's a very personal question, right? I have only my personal view and context where I am at. What I saw, and of course we met in Toronto. Toronto is of course a scale-up startup hub, so it's also an AI hub. So everyone was like, you have all these universities, everyone is extremely excited about these new technologies. and they see opportunities everywhere. I think in Europe we also see opportunities everywhere, but you have that kind of cautious approach. You're like, and I think one of the reasons behind this is also because a lot of these big companies and of this technology is coming from overseas for Europe. So it's so they're like, okay, you have the US companies, the Canadian companies, they have all this amazing tech. Can we just incorporate that here? But what about 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line? Will we be completely dependent, or do we need also European alternative to that? So that's one thing. So the technology comes from abroad versus its homebred technology. I mean, if you're in Canada and in Toronto especially, and you're active within the AI ecosystem, I think you'll have a much easier way into all these local companies, because it's all coming from around the area, right? So that's one thing. And the second thing, you have, of course, the EU AI Act, which is extremely important for companies like us. Today it looks like a hassle, in the sense it's going to take some work for us to be compliant, to make sure that we can prove that we adhere to all these rules that we incorporate. But in the long run, it's going to be a unique advantage, because European companies or this European ecosystem will need to comply and buy technology or from companies that comply with the EU AI Act. So yeah, I love globalization. I love technology. I love discovering what's coming from North America, from Europe. I hope Europe will have an answer in the long run to all this amazing technology that is coming from abroad. The only thing I see a little bit more cautious approach here in Europe, but I think we're also making great strides and moving fast. So Jasper, I hope you got it.
I got it.